It's Dr. D here, and I am excited to walk you through the Transform Limiting Beliefs exercise. Have your worksheet pulled up so you can fill it out as we go through it, and if you don't have a copy, head on over to my website and get yours for free now. Let's get started. The first step requires us to be specific and concise. Identify the belief that you want to work on transforming. So it could be something like, I'm not good enough, or I can't do that. Whatever it is, make it very specific and make it concise. Type it in. We're going to take a little bit of time with this one. Allow yourself to take a few deep breaths, relax, and really reflect back on your earlier years. When was the first time, or what is your earliest memory of this belief? Perhaps it's a belief that was developed later on in life. If that's the case, try to recall the first time you really believed the statement you typed above. Where were you? What impact did it have on you? Who was around? What was going on at that time? Pause the video, take a few minutes to sit back and try to reflect that and describe that earliest memory in detail. For this question, you have a choice to make. You can choose to stay in that moment of the past for the remainder of this exercise, and that may be helpful if you have not yet been able to reprocess that memory you recalled in an empowering and or healing way. If that would be helpful to you, continue to answer this question and moving forward through that memory of the past with the context of the past. If you've already done that work and you need to focus more on how that belief that was seated in the past is still being reinforced and impacting you by the reality of the now, then answer this question with that in mind, with the present. So who in the present, or if you're choosing to reprocess this from the past, who was it that was contributing to this belief being reinforced? And where does this belief get reinforced? In the past or in the present? Is this belief being reinforced by religion? Is it being reinforced by society? Could it be reinforced by expectations on the job, or gender roles, or other family roles, or racism, or sexism, or ageism? Whatever you are experiencing, pay attention and know how to answer specific people, characters that may be contributing to this belief being reinforced, and also know how to identify bigger systems that may be reinforcing this idea. Perhaps the media you consume, the content you consume. Think about all of those things and write them down. Review the list that you just finished creating and choose at least one thing from that list. What do you imagine the intention of this message was and or is? So if you chose a person, what do you imagine the intention of that person communicating that messaging to you was? If you chose a systemic factor, what do you imagine the intention of communicating or reinforcing this message is? If you really want to expand your awareness, I challenge you to answer this question for each of the things you listed in the previous one. So that question has two purposes from my point of view. One that I really hope is starting to happen even as you were answering it is noticing a difference and a distinction between intent and outcome, intent and consequence, the intent and the actual function. My other hope for you is that through this exercise, you're able to have a bigger picture clarity about the thought. Many times when we're stuck in a belief, we are consumed by it. It becomes part of our identity in a way. When we're able to answer this question, then we're able to see the thought more for what it actually is, a message. And messages have functions. They serve functions. They are things that come and go. And being able to separate ourselves from that allows us to see the bigger picture with a little bit more clarity. So I hope that that's what's starting to happen for you. All right, let's move on. This is one of my favorite parts of the exercise. When we get to rate the reliability of the source on a scale from 0 to 10, 0 being not at all reliable, to 10 being expert status. If they don't know, if he or she doesn't know, if it was some kind of systemic or system level factor, then it's unknowable, right? Figure out on that scale where you would put the source. At least one. Ideally, you would go through it for every source that you listed. If you're kind of having a hard time, I want to give the dictionary definition of reliable. Reliable, trustworthy qualities. Consistently good in quality or performance, able to be trusted. I also want you to ask yourself questions like, does this person or thing have or produce the outcomes that I want? Do they have the experience, the training, the knowledge to adequately inform their message? Now, one of the skills in being able to master your mindset is know how to zoom in and zoom out. So we're going to zoom in to our individual self while still having the observer perspective. Observe yourself. What impact does having this belief have on your psyche? Are there any ways in which maintaining this belief benefits you, helps you, serves you? If so, write them down. Are there any ways in which maintaining this belief harms you? Is it dysfunctional in any way? Is it any disservice to you? What impact does this have on you emotionally, on your behaviors? Do you find yourself motivated by them? Or do you find yourself paralyzed by them? Do you feel smaller? Do you feel powerful? What impact does this belief have on you? Now we're zooming back out. What evidence suggests that the belief is accurate? What evidence suggests that the belief is true? List it all out. Any facts, any information, any data that you have that suggests this belief is true, write it all out. Now, make a list of all of the evidence that opposes this belief and or suggests this belief may be false. Any information, any data, any facts, anything that serves as information to discredit this belief, make a list of it now. You reviewed the evidence, you've assessed it from multiple layers at multiple points in time, through multiple perspectives. Now the choice is yours. What do you want to do? In this moment, are you choosing to adopt this belief? Perhaps after going through this, you're like, actually, I want to keep this belief around. If that's the case, check consciously adopt. Maybe you don't identify with that. You're like, this is a partial truth. I need to do a little bit of upgrading and modifying so that it is more representative of what I know the truth for me to be. That would be intentionally modified. Or maybe you're like, there is absolutely zero, nada, about this that I want to keep around, about this that I even believe to be true. Therefore, you would check the last one, choose to flat out reject and replace. Now, what is your chosen belief? Type it out. My hope is that by the end of this exercise, you've experienced another level of conscious awareness. As you can see from the questions, this process isn't limited to unwanted beliefs. We could go through this process with beliefs that we actually desire. And we may be pleasantly surprised that at the end, we're able to consciously adapt it with more fervor, with more data, with more history, with more richness. So I hope this exercise is useful to you, not only now, but also in the future. If you need a little bit more guidance or support or feedback on actually changing the belief, like if you're like, no, I know I want to change it. I know I need to change it, but I'm not sure like to what or how. If you're struggling a little bit with that, I encourage you to seek out the support of a mental health professional. If perhaps you are able to do that, you're able to replace the thought, but the acting on it piece, like, okay, how do I like live this out on a daily basis? If you need a little bit of support with that, that's something that you would also benefit from in one-to-one work through therapy or life coaching or something along those lines. If you're interested, I'm also offering a mindset transformation e-course where we go through more step-by-step and more guided process on actually changing the belief and how to act on it. So if you're interested, reach out. Connect with me through most social media platforms. My username is at dr.d.the.mft, or you can visit my website, www.drdthemft.com. I hope this served you well, and please share your experience or feedback. I love hearing from you.